Thanks, Tony. Appreciate it. A few things we'd like to acknowledge on the front end. A couple of folks that have retired from following college sports. Rick Bozich, great 50-year career from Louisville, and just want to congratulate him on a wonderful career. John Clay from the Lexington Herald-Leader was inducted into the United States Basketball Writers Hall of Fame, and John obviously has been a writer here since my time at Kentucky, and so congratulations to John. I hope they have great retirements. And while we're acknowledging folks, I also want to remember those that have passed away that we've lost. Chuck Perry was a great photographer for our program and was around us an awful lot. If you came to any sporting event at Kentucky, you saw Chuck. And he was an amazing friend for many and just a wonderful human being, and we will miss him. And in the last year, we also lost Lonnie Demery and Oscar Woodall. And so we want to certainly acknowledge that and thank them for their time and wish their families the best, and our condolences to them. And while I'm doing that, while I'm talking and acknowledging people, let me acknowledge Tony Neely, who was put in the College Sports Communicators Hall of Fame, and congratulate him on that. I know he doesn't want me to say anything about that, but we should do that while we're here. And so we celebrated him this summer, and that was a lot of fun to be able to do that. We're going to start a football training camp. The Fall Athletics UK season is here. I want to thank you for helping get our team stories told and get the words and the names out there for our folks as we begin. So we look forward to the Big Blue Nation coming back to our campus in the days and weeks to come. Many of our teams have been here all summer, and so it's really an exciting time to be back on campus. We're proud of our economic impact our athletic events continually make from football games in this community is a huge part of that. So we know that if our football program has an impact on the community, and excited to continue to grow that. We've got an incredible schedule this fall, so it'll be another exciting fall in Lexington. And with the weather today, I'm sure it feels a little bit like fall compared to what we've been having. So anyway, it's exciting. Everyone is invited to Fan Day tomorrow, a free up-close look at this year's football team. We love the face-to-face interactions between players, coaches, and fans that days like tomorrow provide. The BBN's passion is amazing and is a big part of what makes UK Athletics so special, and we're grateful for the fan support that we have. Last season didn't meet the expectations that we wanted to have, and it sharpened our focus for the year ahead. There's no question about that. Today I want to focus on the opportunities that our staff, Coach Stoops and his staff and the team, have worked their way over the off-season to get back to where we want to be. And we've been there before, and we'll respond, and I'm confident this team and our coaching staff is ready to go. They've embraced the changes, reset, building some momentum for the upcoming season. We had a top 10 transfer portal class and top 25 recruiting class. Look forward to the start of the season and cheering our team on. Was at practice yesterday. It was spirited. It was great enthusiasm, and it's fun to watch. A lot of new faces. I think over 50 new faces on our team. And so that's sort of the world in college athletics as we see it. We're seeing rosters and teams on all sports change at about 40 to 50% rate of new folks coming in and out of your program. In a time with much change, a change we're embracing, we focus on two things we've always talked about. Education and competition, and that hasn't changed. That won't change. There's an old saying that methods are many and principles are few. Your methods will always change, your principles never do. And so our principles have been around those two pillars, and they will continue to do that. And on the education front, our student athletes completed last spring 26 straight semesters. We've been above a 3.0 GPA, and it was above a 3.4. They continue to excel in the classroom. I'm super proud of what they've done and continue to pursue degrees and finding a way to make an impact in the community as they leave our campus, and so that's really important. We had 149 student athletes earn degrees or certifications last year, and we had 3 academic All-Americans last year out of our program, and so super important that we continue to emphasize that. And in this new year, we're adding 80 scholarships to our program. So in the new settlement, in the new world that we're in, we're adding 80 scholarships. Our rosters change a little bit in our 23 sports. They will change based upon the settlement and based upon the new roster limits. That will challenge us a little bit. They'll go from 650, 670 athletes to just over 500 in those roster changes. But with that, we're also able to change the way we do scholarships. And so we were able to add 80 scholarships, which about $5 million of new scholarships will be going to our student athletes in an opportunity for them to be either take advantage of the revenue sharing or the scholarships, and that'll be really, really important. So all of our programs are benefiting in the new era, and we think that was really, really important. Putting diplomas in the hands will continue to be a focus for us alongside putting the championship rings on fingers, and we've talked about that for many, many years. Those are our focus, diplomas in hands and rings on fingers. Other fall sports, not just football, are kicking into gear. I want to make sure we acknowledge that. Coach Skinner's volleyball team, we've won 8 straight SEC championships and had a national championship in that run, if you will remember. And we look forward to the return of the SEC volleyball tournament, which will be new to the SEC this year. We'll have the SEC volleyball tournament. First time since I've been at Kentucky that we've had an SEC volleyball tournament. It's been talked about for years, and so they'll bring that back in late in November. There'll be an SEC volleyball tournament. Obviously, Coach Skinner and his an incredible run. He's been Coach of the Year multiple times, and we are the preseason favorite to win the league, and that makes it really hard. Everyone's focused on knocking you off that seat. So I know that our team is ready. They've had a good summer and ready to go, and looking forward to having them get started again. We're also excited about another free admission opportunity. All of our men's and women's soccer games at the Bell will be free this year. It's a little bit of a change to what we've done in the past, so all that'll be free. So we encourage fans to get out and have an opportunity to watch our soccer teams. Coach Fabiano, the women's soccer team, was coming off the program's first NCAA tournament experience in a decade. They beat West Virginia in the first round last year to secure our first win in a long time in the NCAAs, and looking to build on that. He just continues to grow our program, excited about where he is. And Johan Sedegren and our men's soccer team, we all know that the great history he's had, multiple conference championships, and trying to regroup and get going where we get back a tough league, and he's got a tough schedule, but he's won multiple championships, and he's ready to go. They're excited to get going. So cross country is also starting, and we'll work our way into that as we get into this fall. As we head into the new season, the landscape of college athletics continues to shift. Here at UK and in the SEC, we've been anticipating many of the changes. We've got great leadership in Birmingham from Greg Sankey, and I'm thankful for that. Got great leadership on our campus from Dr. Capilouto and our university administration, and they've been very, very helpful for us as we try to navigate the new landscape. And so thankful for that as well. Many universities are looking for answers. We've strengthened our longstanding partnership with the university. We've been partners for a long time. We did some things to support the university and some times where they needed our help. And I'm thankful that they've come alongside us to help us in times when we've needed some help. So we're going through this. We've obviously got a lot of things on our plate with the change that started July 1st. And so we like to talk a little bit about partner equity, and that's been it's not just it's a real thing, and our campus has been very supportive of us. And so you saw the change to the Champions Blue LLC, which allows UK athletics to sort of dynamically face the challenges that we've got in front of us, and I think that's been really important for us. Among the many investments for the future of our program is what we put in football, and you'll see a little bit, you've heard a little bit about that. $15 million into the maintenance of Kroger Field. Just some things to make sure that the stadium remains safe and make sure it remains in top shape. And we can't let it drift. I don't want it to get to a spot where it's broken down and we're struggling. We want to make sure that it's safe and our fans have a good experience in that. $13 million into the corner suites and the elevators, just again to renovate those and make sure that we can sell those and make sure they're a big part of what we have in our revenue package for the stadium. Very important. And then $8 million in initial design to look at some premium space and some end zone club space on the west end, as well as our Wi-Fi system, and trying to create something in that. Not an inexpensive project in any way, shape, or form. So we've begun a design phase for that, working our way to that. So significant investment in football as we continue to make sure that as we go into this new 5 to 10 year period of college athletics, that we've got revenue streams that are coming. Many headlines around college sports these days off the field. We don't want to shy away from those being important. That's a piece of the puzzle, but I'll close with a story that I'm reminded of. I've told this many times to our teams. My wife and I travel a little bit and go down to get away sometimes, and there's an old country road down in South Carolina, and there's always this, there's a Kentucky flag that hangs on the tree of this house when we drive by it. And I told my wife one day, we're going to stop. We're going to meet those folks and find out who they are. And so we did. I took some UK stuff, and we pulled up, and we were thankful that we weren't attacked by a dog or anything coming around the corner. That was super good. And but we got out and had a chance to spend some time talking to those folks. They came out and we visited with them a little bit. They were an elderly couple and huge fans. They reminded us they're from Eastern Kentucky. They just happened to be transplants, and so they didn't know who we were, and we certainly didn't tell them. And we just sat and chatted about UK athletics for a good long time. And the one thing they wanted me to know was that the Cats were playing next Tuesday night in basketball, and it was real important that we won. And I say that just to remind us that 90% or 95% of our fans don't really understand all the things that are going on in the world of litigation and all of the things in the settlement and what's going on federally or what's going on in the legislative world or within the conference office. They know one thing. They know that their team, and that's the Kentucky Wildcats, is going to play on a certain date and a certain time, and they're going to watch it on TV, and they sure hope that their team, the Big Blue, comes out on top. And so really, really important. And it was great as we got in the truck and drove off. It was a great reminder just to be thankful for our fan base, all ages, all places, and it was really a fun time. So we'll hopefully visit them again and have an opportunity to chat with them again. But anyway, just a great reminder as we sort of walk into these conversations. So with that, I'll close and glad to follow up with anything that anyone wants to talk about.
Mitch, you guys have played and kept those revenue sharing numbers kind of close to the vest.
There's been speculation now because of that, what they are. Are you ready to give fans some more clarity on exactly?
Yeah, the speculation's wonderful. It's, I think that not only do the fans want to know, but our opponents want to know. And so I think we're going to sort of keep it fluid with us and keep it inside our framework. I will say this, our coaches are pleased with where we are and what we're doing. And I think that's the beauty of this cap system that we're in, is that it is pretty fluid from season to season, from sport to sport, and it can change. And so to sit here and say we're going to focus and put this number on that, it may change by the time we get to the end of the semester. It may change by the time we get to the end of the year based upon rosters, based upon who's in your program and who's not in your program. And so we want to be really thoughtful about how we do that, and we think our best advantage in being able to help our coaches in the best way possible is to be really, really nimble in what we do, and we can only do that, we think, if we structure it this way. So we've worked really closely. Kevin Sargent and Cody Weber are two guys that are working really hard in our compliance area. I'm not sure if that's the right term for that anymore, but strategically they're working really, really hard to make sure that our coaches get what they need and that we're able to respond in a fashion that gives us best advantage in terms of recruiting and bringing the right people to our roster. So as long as our coaches are engaged and happy and having good conversations with recruits, we feel really comfortable with just keeping it inside our family.
Mitch, given that it's going to be fluid, is there a hard number for football or men's basketball that you're not going to dip below any?
Yeah, I think the number from the settlement perspective grows every year. It grows by 4% every year. So that number of $20.5 million will go up by 4%. And then there will be two look-ins over the next 10 years that the plaintiffs can come in and they can ask for a look-in for every 2 times in that 10-year period of time to make sure that the revenues in all of college athletics are being accurately depicted. So, that number is going to continue to grow, and we'll just continue to sort of move within our program. So, Coach Stoops and I have had a great conversation, Coach Pope, Coach Brooks. We've helped, I think we sort of talked about it, baseball, we've worked with volleyball, women's basketball. I think we just want to be able to respond the right way. So hard numbers, I don't know, do anybody any good. Being really responsive to what we need is really, really important.
Coach, do you see alignments changing in the conference?
In other words,
Go to Southwest Conference or SEC, will we have more?
aviation
subtractions in the conference in the next few years?
Yeah, I don't ever say, never say never. I think if you just said 5 years ago that the Big Ten would be 18 schools and that the SEC would be 16 and the Big 12 would, I'm not sure where they're at. I think they're at 16 as well. Is that, who would have thought that? I don't think anybody would have thought that. So I think there's always change, and we keep talking about that at a pretty high level and in different areas. You've got conversations in Washington, D.C., federally. You've got conversations amongst the commissioners, amongst the CFP, among the FBS. So never say never to change. We'll be ready to respond to it, but I think our focus for what we're doing, we've got to make sure that, number one, from the Southeastern Conference perspective, we're paying attention to the environment and the landscape within our teams, and then making sure that at the Kentucky we're ready to respond to what's going on in the world of college athletics.
Mitch, these rosters were set, basketball, football, I think most of the programs had their rosters set under NIL. That was the primary roster building tool. So you have $20 million of revenue share money this year. Can you roll that money over, and is that part of the plan to kind of supplement for years to come? So
your $20 million is offset by scholarships. So you've got a $2.5 million offset, which means you've really got $18 million to use for this coming year. So it's who's on your roster and how that, so there is movement in all of that. And when you bring people into your program and when you sign your people, when they actually show up on your campuses. So it's a pretty fluid deal. That's why I said it's really fluid. So we want to make sure we're really intelligent about how we do that. Agreements that we sign, those NIL, the NLIs that we sign for their scholarships and their revenue share agreements or their contracts, those have all got to be done very strategically, and that's why our compliance office has done a portion of this for years. Think about the equivalency scholarships we've used in our non-full scholarship sports. It's the same premise, if you will, is using those. So who's coming onto your roster in an equivalency scholarship and how you use that scholarship and break it up. That full scholarship, 250s, is it 330s, is it, that kind of thing. So we're trying to be really thoughtful about how we do it. So you can't use unused money. The money's the same. The cap is still $18 million. So wherever you fall in that $18 million, you have to find a way to use it strategically.
So it is a use it or lose it sort of deal?
Yes. Yeah, you don't get to carry. If you only use $15 million, you don't get the next year, you don't get the $3 million added to it. So correct. Correct.
What's a successful football
All season looks like for you.
Yeah, we got to get better. We've got to fight and find our way to some more wins in a really, really difficult schedule. I was looking at our schedule the other day, and they said that, and I've heard everybody say that we've got the second or third most difficult schedule in the SEC. I've heard fifth or sixth. Regardless, if you look at the schedule, it's a difficult schedule. So, yeah, Mark and I were chatting the other day and just talking about, literally you go week to week and you just take 1 week at a time. Don't try and get ahead of it. I've always loved when people start giving prognostications. Well, this is a game that they can win now. Well, you don't know who's going to be available injury-wise, roster-wise for either team at this point in time. You just got to play with what you have and you move on to the next one. We've been in this spot before, John. We've been in a spot where we're coming off some tough moments where we didn't get what we wanted to do, and Mark is really, really good at fighting through adversity. And so I've been so pleased with how hard our staff has worked, the way our players have worked, the roster we've got in place. I was at practice yesterday again, enthusiastic group of guys bouncing around, and I know it's early in the fall camp and everybody's bouncing around, right? But I love the enthusiasm of our team. I've been a couple team meetings with them. They're fully engaged, ready to go. And Mark uses the term locked in. They seem pretty locked in. And so obviously you got to go do it on the field. And our league is unforgiving. It is an unforgiving place to play football. But, we've got to find a way to get better. And you know me well enough to know I'm not going to sit here and say it's this number of wins, it's this number of things. I'm not doing that. I've never done that. And so I'm not going to start doing that now. We've been a place that's embraced our coaches. We've got a longevity with our coaches, and we've never overreacted to things. Maybe that's something that people don't particularly like about me. I'm not particularly caring at this point. so Anyway,
Mitch, Oklahoma has announced that it's
It's going to revenue share with six of its teams. Is Kentucky's revenue share going to reach that level?
yeah, so I mentioned that, Mark. I mentioned football, obviously men's basketball, women's basketball. We've had some revenue share with baseball. Softball has participated in that, in volleyball. So we've got 6. As I said, when we're adding 80 scholarships, I thought, Coach Mingione was talking to his team and he said, you're either going to participate in one or two ways. You're either getting some revenue share or you're getting a part of a new scholarship. Baseball scholarships went up significantly. They were getting 11.7 scholarships. They're now getting, I think, 24, 25 scholarships. So that's 13 additional scholarships. So those young men, and if the roster is only 34, which is what baseball's roster is, you might get a couple of designated athletes in there, so you might be 36 or 37. Most of those people are getting to be able to participate in either rev share or scholarship. So there's benefit. In this settlement, there is approximately $25 million of new benefits for our student athletes. Keep in mind, that is all new expenses with no revenue attached to it. So that is where the LLC has been super important for us to be able to come along, have them come alongside us and say, okay, there's $30 million of expenses spread out over 23 sports, trying to find a way to make that work. But yeah, we've got those 6 aligned, and that doesn't mean that in the future that others we won't be able to do something. That's why not having hard numbers for each of our programs, now we can move, okay, maybe this year this team doesn't need quite as much, we can go help someone else over here. And we think that's an intelligent way to do that. We're in the first month of this thing, literally the first month. For anybody to sit in front of a group and say, I've got all the answers after 4 weeks, good for you. Good for you. I mean, I don't know that we've talked about a decade's worth of change that has happened in the last 6 to 10 months of college athletics. The change that has occurred has been massive. We don't even have a governance structure in place, really, to be honest with you. So you're asking people to say, hey, this is absolutely the highway or the pathway we're supposed to go down. I don't think that's a reality in anybody's world. There's going to be a clunkiness to it and a getting started piece to all of this, and hopefully the waters will smooth a little bit, but it is going to be a little bit clunky at the beginning. You have coaches coming out and saying the NIL piece of NIL Go is not working. You have others saying it's working fine. It's working fine. You have the revenue cap is working this way. Really? So everyone's in the weeds and everyone understands exactly what's going on. I've been in the middle of those conversations for 10 months, 12 months, and it's a lot. It is an absolute lot. And I'm thankful for people that want to jump alongside federal legislation and help out of Washington. Anybody that wants to help, that would be awesome. That'd be great. If we can get an alignment and get people to help, that would be great. But to sit here and be critical of the system that's only been in place for 4 weeks, really, really difficult. And so we got to find our way through it and just gently walk through this thing and let it smooth itself out. So I think there's a lot of really good people working at this thing, and I'm thankful for that. We got a lot of folks trying hard.
Mitch, the 8-9 debate in football conference schedule.
Yeah.
Do you have any clarity on when maybe there was a deadline for when we're going to find out what the 2026 schedule is?
Yeah.
Where does that kind of stand?
So 8-9 debate, and there's no mystery on where I stand on 8-9. 8's better for Kentucky. We'll have the athletic directors in our league. Obviously, there's financial components to it. There's competitive components to it. There's components to it as it relates to our ability to have 7 home games or 8 home games. We've been fortunate about every 2+ years we've been able to have 8 home games because Mark Hill does an unbelievable job of scheduling with our football staff of putting things together for us to be able to have 8 home football games. If we have 9 conference games, the chances of doing something like that get a little bit harder for us. So the 8-9 conversation is difficult. And it's a good conversation in the room. There's an economic component to it as it relates to television, for sure. And so I think that decision's obviously has to come pretty quickly. We've got athletic directors meetings in August. There's probably a pretty good chance that's on the docket. And then some decision comes out of all that. If we go to 9, that means every other year we have 5 conference games on the road. and 4 conference games at home. And you only have 3 non-conference games. And so then when you begin to do the math of how all that comes together for Kentucky, and that's where we've got to be really thoughtful about what we do. But it's a conversation that's going to come to a head here fairly quickly.
You mentioned just a minute ago, you touched on federally maybe help. You saw the edict from the president that came out about no pay for play. Do you feel the future is something federally to kind of mandate how the NCAA works?
Yeah, I don't know that like I said just earlier, I think there's a lot of people trying to help, and that's awesome. You know, I've had multiple conversations, been to Washington, D.C., I don't know, 4 times here in the last 10 months. We've been in the hallways. We've had conversations on the phone with our state representatives in D.C. The president has had conversations with commissioners. There's been, executive orders. There's been things that have said, all of that is great conversation. We need to if we can hopefully dial it into some help where we're all sort of on the same hymn book would be awesome. But it's difficult. It is difficult because so many perspectives, and you've got 4 conferences that are, all across the country, and that's never been something that's been aligned. I've been in this thing for 43 years. I've never seen all of the power conferences aligned on conversations. They come at them from different perspectives. It's no different. I think everybody makes it out to be something different for college sports than it is for the NFL or the NBA or Major League Baseball. There are some things that they've got we certainly don't have, including, antitrust exemptions. All of that's fine. But when you think about small market, big markets, and West Coast versus East Coast, and those kind of things, and all those things, they're remarkably different. And those owners all come at it from a different perspective. They've got just a couple things that are different from us. We don't have that yet. And maybe over time it gets to that spot where we have some of that help. But it's, the essence of college sports is uniquely different than it is anywhere else in anything else. We provide Olympians for our countries and for other international countries. We provide opportunities for women's sports that are uniquely different than anything else. And you can argue there's other professional sports leagues. There's nothing that has the visibility or the competitiveness that college sports does for women's sports. You look at what we've done for the sport of baseball. Although very few schools make money in baseball, the platform of college baseball is remarkable. And it's all fed through the lens of the Southeastern Conference, the Big 12, the ACC, and then how we bring all of that together is really, really important. And so we don't want to lose that. I'm disappointed that we had 675 student athletes last year on our rosters. We're going to be down to about 525, 530. We lost 145 kids for our program. That breaks my heart. Those are 145 kids that had a chance to come in and experience a locker room and go do some really, really cool things in life. They might not have been NFLers or NBAers or WNBAers. They might not be, but they had an opportunity to be in a locker room and experience that. And that disappoints me. But having said that, I want to make sure we preserve the 23 sports and the 500 we've still got left in our program, and we grow them as best we possibly can.
Mitch, at what point would it be better just to, instead of federal legislation, just to have a collectively bargained agreement in place? And kind of, I know it's on the level of professional sports, but it seems like we're in that territory now.
I think there's lots of state pieces to that are really difficult for everyone to get past. You've got state laws. We've got to get all of our states talking at the same time. We don't need one state walking off and going set a set of rules and then having some other state saying competitively, I can't allow that state to go do that. I'm going to go do my own thing over here. We sort of got that going on right now. We need everyone to sort of say, okay, we're all going to be in the same space to start with. And I don't think we can get to the space you're talking about if we don't have that to begin with. So we're going to have to find some continuity in those conversations. So, yeah, Dick.
You've been at this for a while, as you said. You spend most of this time here talking about legislation and budgets and NIL and the portal and all that. And you got into this line of work for whatever reason, but I can't imagine this is what you signed up for. You got coaches walking, established coaches walking away, because this is the most tumultuous time really in the history of college sports. I'm just curious, what keeps you going?
Yeah, I think it goes back to the piece for me, when I walk into a room with our student athletes, and they're getting ready to compete, I love that. I had a chance to go to 3 and a half. I watched some individual workouts yesterday. I went to football practice and had a chance to go watch our 2 basketball teams work out for a bit yesterday. That's all you do, right? Walk around and go to practice. That's all we do. But I wanted to see our kids compete, because that is the reminder for me as to what's important in what we do. I go back to my conversation about that couple that we visited. That's the reality. We were getting ready to play Duke in basketball the following Tuesday when I met them. And she goes, we play Duke on Tuesday. So, really? Wow, that's good to remember. And I say that because that's the special part about what we have in college athletics. A unique ability to walk into a room with young people that love what they play. And I love that. And I love watching kids get their degrees who we maybe didn't think could get a degree. And I can list tons of them that walked across the stage and got a degree. And you say, well, that's really nice, Mr. Barnhart. That's a wonderful thing to say. It's true. I find joy in that. I find joy in the winning, not in the losing. I find joy in the winning. There was one of our coaches had a competitive practice session and was reminding everybody it is about winning. It is about winning. This is not an intramural activity, all right? And so I like that part. Having said that, we're in some really choppy waters, Dick, really choppy waters, and we're trying to find our way through it. And so we'll do. I think it's important that we try and smooth the waters for the next couple generations, see if we can find a way to help them maintain the opportunities we have. All my kids participated in college sports. My wife and I had an opportunity to be at a place where we had a chance to experience that as well, and we know how important it is. It is important. It's important in this community. I go back to, we had 400 events on this campus last year. 400 events on this campus this year. Where's Scotty? Is Scotty back here somewhere? There he is. The guy in the back helped us run 400 events. My staff worked relentlessly. Why is that important? It's important to the people we put the events on for. Guess what it was also important for? This community. This community benefited economically in a lot of different ways. Hotels, restaurants, gas stations, grocery stores. People benefited. It's important for us to be strong so this community can be strong. We're part of a really, really cool piece in this deal. Really cool piece. The horse industry, really neat with Keeneland. The Bourbon Trail has become a part of the tourism piece of this place. And then throw Kentucky athletics in the middle of all that. There's a reason people come. It's a pretty cool deal, and we're thankful to be a part of that. But it's important on a lot of fronts that we're successful, and so we want to do that. And we benefit everyone. It's sort of the rising tide piece raises all of it, and that's part of our responsibility. It is a responsibility, and we do feel that.
Mitch, the SEC
Set its own football scholarship limit within the settlement.
Yes.
Is there any uniformity in
The other sports in terms of like what you all are doing as a league and
Yeah. Yeah, there is. There are. And we're sort of in the settlement, with the settlement has defined most of that for us, John. The SEC is the 85, and those are 85, keep in mind, those can be 85 partials now. So you can say, hey, I've got the last 20 guys on my roster, I'm going to take those last 10 scholarships and break them up and make them partials if you wanted to, just like we did in every other sport. You couldn't do that in the previous days, but you can now. And so football is a little unique in that we're at 85 and some other conferences are different numbers, and that may change over time. Don't know how that's going to play out. Again, we're 4 weeks in, so but I think our rosters are pretty set, and our coaches are fully aware. And again, many of our rosters benefited from this thing, and so I point to baseball. Although their overall roster number is less, their scholarship number is significantly greater. Softball, significantly greater in scholarships. Track and field, more scholarships. And so all those, but the roster number for track and field is smaller. So it's really fascinating, and it's a puzzle that we're putting together. And I think our people have done an amazing job. And I go back to our staff. culmination of activity for our staff, from whether it's an event, normal procedural thing that we go through, to the transition from the litigation, all of that, and the settlement, really, really difficult, really complicated, to the transition to the LLC, really complicated, not easy. And everybody says, well, it's just, you just changed names. No, we didn't. There's a lot to that. And I'm thankful, super thankful for that. Having said that, you bring a way of doing your work for a good number of years. And now you're aligning it a little bit differently. And we're having conversations that'll be fine. It's no different than any locker room you have. You bring new folks into the locker room, you got to find a way to make sure the family gets all synced up and make sure it's on the same page. And we're getting there. We're getting there. As I'm thankful for Dr. Monday and his staff and my team, but it's been an awful lot the last 6-8 months, and I'm really, really, really proud of our group, our K-Fund group, and the fundraising efforts that they've had, incredible. Our marketing group, our events and operations, facilities. It's been a lot. Anybody want to go to that concert we had this summer? This spring? Yeah. It didn't just roll out and happen. Those folks were putting in 100-hour weeks trying to get ready to get the stage ready. That wasn't an athletic event, right? It wasn't our event. But it was. It was big for the community. Everyone had a great time. It was an awesome concert, and beautiful night in Kroger Field. And we're going to do it 9 times a year. I'm kidding. We're not. We're not.
Folks, thanks a lot. Appreciate y'all being here today. We'll have our coordinators.
Just over the last few months, a lot of these programs are talking about measures to add more revenue. But last month you talked about capital campaign projects and potentially entertainment districts. So how do those two, it seems like you're spending more money, but you also need more money. How does that balance?
Yeah, I think you got to find things that the things that you're going to spend money on have an ability to produce revenue. And so we think like the West End Zone expansion for our club spaces has a chance to do that. Wi-Fi has a chance to help us with that. There's some things you have to do because you can't afford just to sit here and let things deteriorate. So if I let the steel structure in our stadium deteriorate, that's a problem. Okay, we don't want to do that. That's a safety issue. We got to make sure we maintain our stadium. You don't want things to deteriorate to a spot where all of a sudden the expense to fix them has become so great, it becomes not smart. So we're going to work really hard at that. But all the decisions we're going to try and make, you have to weigh them in terms of ongoing maintenance and operation. Does it function? And does it produce some revenue for you on the other side? And we've got some really cool thoughts in terms of the way we want to produce some revenue. We also want to find new buckets. Most athletic departments have 5 buckets. They have tickets, they have fundraising, they have concessions and souvenirs, contracts, your Nikes and Gatorades and things like that, your JMIs, those contracts, and then the last one is your conference revenue sharing from your television. Those are the 5 buckets that have generally occurred for most schools. And so how can you add 3 or 4 more buckets as you go forward? And that's our goal. Let's put 2 or 3 more buckets out there and fill those up. And that's where the LLC comes alongside us and helps us with some new thoughts. Maybe it gives us some flexibility and some things, some areas that we can get into that might not be specifically athletics related, but give us the ability to create revenue to do that differently without straining the folks that have been so good to us and showing up in our stadiums and our arenas. We're trying to keep those as best we can at a reasonable rate. Okay, thanks, Nick. Appreciate it. Thanks for your time, guys.